You're listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 91. Finding your voice and knowing how to use it to make an impact is not always easy. Speaking to an audience or even to yourself or loved ones can be difficult for many. I know I struggle with this myself, and I am so excited to dive into this topic today with our guest who is a master at confidently amplifying her voice, but also helping others to do so as well. So what are we waiting for? Let's dive on in. Hey there, I'm your host, Jessica Fergon, and I am passionate about doing the inner work needed to reach your goals. Let me be your guide as we navigate all the fears and insecurities that surface when it's time to step outside of your comfort zone. Along with my knowledgeable guests and industry experts, I'm here to teach you how to reawaken your life purpose and passion and create the steps to turn your intentions into action. Ultimately, my goal is to empower you to rise above those blocks holding you back and start living a life that you are worthy and deserving of. So come on, it's time to slow down, find a comfy spot with your favorite organic tea, and get inspired. Thank you for tuning in to the Love Unplugged podcast. Hello, loves. Today I am so excited to be joined by the incredible Jam Gamble. She is a multi-passionate media personality, speaker, and founder of Slay the Mic program, who is on a mission to help people build their confidence and amplify their voice, which is something that I think we absolutely need in this world. And I'm just super excited to talk to you because I struggle speaking into a microphone and speaking to an audience and all that stuff. So I definitely want to learn all that I can through you. So welcome, Jam. I'm just so honored to have you as my guest, and I'm so excited to learn all about your story and advice. But before we start, for those that don't know you yet, I would love for you to share a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so like you said in the introduction, my name is Jam. I'm the founder and CEO of the Slay the Mic program that helps people turn their voice into their ultimate superpower. And I've been a speaker for, well, really, when I think about it, I've been a speaker all my life, but a professional speaker for the past 6 years. And I launched my program just 4 years ago. So my mission is to encourage as many people as possible to stop doubting their voice, to stop holding back on what they have to say and just to let it out.
I love that. I love that so much. Now, I want to start with your own personal journey. So I've listened to you speak, and I would love to know if you've always had a gift for speaking so confidently and with such ease, or if it's something that you had to learn.
Yeah, I think I've always had it. I've always been a speaker or a talker. First of all, I've always been a talker. It did get me into a lot of trouble when I was a kid. My teacher saw it as a problem. My mom saw it as a problem. Everybody really saw it as a problem because I think the way we view speaking now than what we did in the past has transformed immensely, for starters. And secondly, I think when we see children who are showing early signs of being confident speakers, we shut that down because it doesn't suit the classroom model. So for years, that was just something that I just was, talking, only until I accidentally launched my TV show is when I finally realized, hey, you have a voice, you're good at talking. I winged my entire show. So I had a TV show for 6 seasons. I never used notes or a teleprompter. And then when I got into TEDx, that also helped shape my voice as well. And I didn't have any notes then either. So those were like the early indications of just me throwing myself into things and utilizing my voice versus, oh, let me go and get trained. So I've never actually been like, quote unquote, classically trained.
Gotcha. Now, having that viewed as an issue when you were younger, did that cause anything internally to make you struggle to find your voice?
No, I think I just, whether I wanted to or not, I kept talking. And I think, yeah, I just kept talking. But I think what it did to me was it made me second guess when I should speak. So class was a good example. Even when I was in college, I was really curious and eager to share and engage in conversation. And, I was that student who'd always raise her hand to contribute. And, there would be teachers or people who were like, okay, let's give somebody else a chance to talk. Well, maybe those people need to smarten up. That's not my fault that they don't want to contribute. So there was moments when those situations would pop up and I'm like, oh, maybe I should just let put my hand down and let somebody else talk. And now I've realized, now that I'm in this job and this business I've started, I'm like, no, if people don't want to talk when the opportunity is presented to them, why should I hold myself back?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take that stage.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a great thought to have. Now, what made you realize that you could actually turn this gift that you have so naturally into an actual business and be able to teach others to be able to amplify their voice?
People were asking me. I didn't know that this could be a business. It wasn't what I planned to do. Everything I'm doing right now was never a plan. I'm a really impulsive entrepreneur. But when I was speaking at events and I get off stage and I chit chat with people afterwards, the question that I was repeatedly asked was, how do you do that? Like, how do you go on stage? You just come alive. You get into character. Like, how do you just hold the room's attention? I'm like, I don't know. I just do it. Like, I didn't have a plan. I didn't strategize. I just did it. And it just hit me when I think around that time, a lot of people were getting into event planning and coaching a little bit. And I was like, well, if people keep asking me how I do what I do, why don't I start something where I teach people what I do? And it just sort of happened just like that. It was never planned.
I I love that it just came naturally. It's just something that evolved.
Yeah, and I think that was this, sometimes when we start things, we overthink and we overthink and we overthink, but we don't listen to the people around us who are
Mhm.
saying, you're on to something here. You're doing something great. Like, this is like really fascinating to me. I would love to know like how you got to this point. And that sometimes is the confirmation that we need to proceed. So I took it as a sign. I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. I I had no clue how to approach things. I was just making it up as I went along, and it worked. It worked.
It worked. And I love that because I hear it so often in my community where people want to know everything before they start. And, not knowing everything it can stop them from actually beginning a career or their entrepreneurship journey because they don't have it all planned out. They don't have all the details. But this is just another prime example that you don't need to have it all figured out before you start. You just start and learn as you go.
That has always been my plan. So another frequently asked question is like, Jan, what's your 5-year plan for your business or your brand? And my 5-year plan is to have my health, so I have another 5 more years.
Hmm.
Like, I don't have a plan. I guess as long as I'm healthy and I'm able to move and to think and to speak, the possibilities are endless. But a part of doing what I do requires me to trust myself. And I wonder sometimes if people trust themselves enough that they're like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and wing this. Not I have to have this whole blueprint figured out, because no blueprint could dictate what the universe is going to throw our way, right? So we have to be open to anything. And I think that's been helping me in the time that I've been doing my business.
Love that. Now, did you struggle with anything becoming an entrepreneur and starting a business? Was there anything that stands out to you as something that you struggled to navigate that you had to learn?
Everything, I think. I'm super impulsive. So I do a lot of things manually, which people would say, oh, you could do this so much faster if you had a mailing list and this and that and all these things. And I was like, I don't have time to figure out all these like systems and put these things in place. I was just doing what I did by myself for the longest time. But I did have to come up with some type of an outline. I did have to come up with some type of a strategy so I could present things in a certain way. But a lot of the things that I had to do require me to like either try and not necessarily fail, but try again, or find a different way, or it works for now and then scrap it later. A lot of discovery, a lot of discovery. So I didn't do the traditional route of being an entrepreneur. I think I was really making it up as I went along.
That's, I mean, that's how got to where I am right now. Is just kind of going with the flow, learning as you go, and pivoting when needed, really.
Exactly.
Do you have any key advice that you've learned through your own journey that others could benefit from?
Trust yourself, not others. I I trust myself. Sometimes it comes across a little bit arrogant, and I'm okay with that because it's gotten me this far. But I feel like I have like a system or a radar built within me, and sometimes if I hear the advice from others, It's like it goes through my ear and then my body processes it and goes, nope, reject that. It doesn't serve us. Or, I should put some thought into that. But I listen to my voice first and foremost. I think in the early stages of when I got into my business, I saw a lot of my friends who were so quick to say, oh, this is my mentor. I have, I'm being mentored by this person and I'm speaking with that person. And I took this person's certificate as if it was like a badge of honor. Like, look, like I'm qualified to do my business or I'm qualified to launch this because I'm getting mentored by this person. And then I was like, I don't need a mentor. I speak to myself, I speak to those who are close to me, and because I'm spiritual, I speak to God, and that's enough for me. I don't need to go and speak to people who've paved the way before me because I believe in trusting my steps to kind of go in a direction. So that has been my number one tip is to trust yourself first and foremost. And then secondly, ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? So say you launch something and it fails. Okay, are you still live? Can you try again? Awesome, then do it. Try again. Not everything requires you to invest money. And I think that's another misconception is that in order to be successful, you have to invest a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And, like if you're launching a podcast, for example, I've seen some people who've launched podcasts. Okay, I got the ring light. I got this microphone. I've downloaded this software. I've reinvented my home office. And then I've seen people who are like, yeah, everyone, I'm reporting to you live from my closet. Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't have to throw all this money in. Just because you threw all this money in doesn't mean it's going to kick off. Like in the beginning of my business, the only things I invested in was my website. Otherwise, that like my husband was my photographer and my videographer. I edited all my stuff. We did a lot of DIY. And I think this is like the first year of my business where I'm like, okay, I reached a point where I could actually hire people to do things. But you don't have to spend all this money just to do something good. And if it fails, it fails. Try again. And maybe it's something you don't have to try again. Maybe move on to something new. But so far, in what I've been doing in my business, I have just been exploring and trusting the process and kind of just honoring my talents. And it's been working really well for me.
I think that just needs to be rubbed off on everybody. That's such great advice. And I love that you said that you should just try. Even if you fail, it's such an opportunity to learn whether you like it or not. Right?
Yeah.
Like either way, you're not going to know.
Yeah. And not ask somebody else. That's another like repeat mistake that I see people doing. Like I have this one friend who once a year, at least once a year, she will ask me, so what do you think I could be doing differently in my business? And I'm like, what have I been telling you for the past 4 years I've known you?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm done telling you what you need to do. Because if you keep asking me for confirmation, you're essentially telling yourself, I don't trust myself. I don't trust myself. So that's the other thing too. It's like, you know what? Sometimes you just need to do what you feel works for you and not listen to other people. Like other people might say, "Oh yeah, you should do it this way." Does that suit you? Does that feel right to you? If it doesn't, then leave it alone and just go down your own path. And I think within being an entrepreneur or being a creative or being a speaker, it can be lonely. And it's lonely because you know what? Sometimes you have to rely on yourself and not on everybody else. And I had to go through that a couple of years for me to really listen to my voice. And I think that's why I'm so confident as a speaker because I hear my voice before anybody else's.
Oh, that's amazing. A few months ago, I stopped myself and I like seriously questioned myself because I saw myself in this pattern of, trying to seek validation from everybody else, like that I was doing well or that's what I should be doing or things like that. And I'm like, why do I need them to validate? Like, I already know. Like, why do I need them to confirm what I already know inside?
Exactly.
Be self-aware, like really observe your actions, the patterns that you have, why you're doing things, and do you actually need it?
Yeah. Yes. Do you like for real? Do you need to do it? And the thing, and again, like that's when people get into their business or whatever it is that they're doing and they see what other people did and then they create this checklist based off of what other people have done. And then they stress themselves out. And guess what happens when you invest all this money that you really didn't need to invest? And when you consult all these people that you didn't really need to consult, essentially what you're doing is you're withdrawing from your creativity bank.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, your creativity is over here going, so you don't rely on us anymore? Okay. Thanks. Let us know when you want to make use of us again because you put all your faith and advice or reassurance in the hands of others. Like, please, if you want to go far, just go and then walk with yourself, spend time with yourself and see what you're able to create.
Oh, you're so good. I love it. Yes. Okay. So I want to get back to your experiences. So, with everything that you've accomplished so far, I would love to know what experience are you the most proud of and what experience taught you the deepest lesson?
Oh goodness, that's a big question. Um Personally, well, yeah, personally with my business, I'm really proud of what I've managed to build off of nothing. Literally built it off of nothing. There was nobody who referred me. I referred myself. I was telling people that they need me to speak at their events, that if you don't have me, your event is just, essentially going to suck if you don't have me. So I built my business and my brand off of the self-belief that I can do this. And to see how far it's come in 5 years on very minimal investment, without being a big player in the game. And now I'm kind of looked at as a big player in the game. That is a huge, huge accomplishment for me. And to see how the program has transformed into this course. And now over 700 people have come through the Say the Mic program through one-on-one training and the workshops and the masterclass and the virtual learning. And now the course is, again, that's another huge, wow, you did that, pat yourself on the back. But what a lot of people don't know is that my background's actually in education. And I primarily have worked with children with autism and other disabilities. So one of my biggest personal accomplishments are the children who I've worked with who are nonverbal or have been deemed as nonverbal. And then when I'm done working with them, they're actually speaking. So that's probably been like one of those deep in the vault kind of memories. But yeah, that's nothing can beat that.
Yeah, I can only imagine. That's an incredible accomplishment and something to be so proud of,
Hmm.
to be a part of that. Wow. That's incredible. Now, based on your experience, what is the key to becoming a good, confident speaker? Is it developing your confidence, rising above limiting beliefs or blocks, or is it, rising above fears that you have? Like, what is it?
It's all of that.
All of
It's
it?
all of that. It's all of that. Um, I think first off, I'm on a mission to delete or block the word public in front of public speaking. I hate the term public speaking because what it essentially says is that the only time you're speaking is when you're in front of an audience and you have the microphone and everyone's attention. Versus how do you speak in your everyday life? How do you speak to yourself? How do you speak to your partner? How do you speak in your business? How do you speak at events? How do you speak to your friends? Like your voice goes everywhere with you. So one of the biggest obstacles is overcoming the barriers that are holding your voice back in the first place. And we all have a barrier. Once you identify who that barrier is or what that barrier is, then that is the first step in moving past those insecurities and learning to trust your voice. And I think if people spent a little bit more time investigating what is making them so fearful in the first place, one, they're going to realize that, okay, that's not that scary after all. And then two, when they're able to identify that, then they know, okay, this does not serve me. This person does not serve me. I'm now ridding that situation of my life in my life. And I'm now going to proceed and trust myself to speak, to share my thoughts, to share my opinion. And again, my favorite question, what is the worst thing that could happen when you use your voice? Not much. But what's the best things that could happen when you use your voice? And the list is like long.
Mhm.
It's super long when you outweigh what's the worst versus what's the best. And I think if we operate in a what's the best mindset, that will give people the push they need to start speaking up.
Oh, I love that. Now, in your community, what have you seen as the most common reasons people struggle with finding their voice?
Past trauma.
Mm.
Lots of past trauma, PTSD. And PTSD, I know we think of is from violent situations or scary situations where your health was at risk or you're put in danger. But there's a lot of PTSD and unresolved trauma from past relationships, from people we've worked with, so past bosses, stage fright. The amount of clients I've worked with who have stage fright memories from elementary school. When I was in grade 5, I was doing the spelling bee and I spelled a word wrong and everybody laughed at me and I ran off the stage and nobody asked me afterwards how I was feeling. And that person is like now 36 years old and they've still carried that memory with them. Like,
Wow.
so people have compared the Slay the Mic program to like a bit of life coaching meets personal branding meets biz strategy and then personal like public speaking coaching. It's like it's all in one, because in order to own your voice, we need to do that deep work. And then when we do that deep work, then the possibilities are endless.
Oh, amazing. Okay. So we are going to get into your program towards the end. So I definitely don't want to dive into that just yet. Without giving too much away from your program, what advice do you give on the steps that people should take to become more confident, to get over those, past traumas or the PTSD that they might be experiencing so that they're able to articulate their thoughts in an impactful way?
Those types of memories are not easy to overcome by yourself. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm just someone who's really good at asking good questions. Um, and people need that type of support. You need somebody who's going to hold the floor for you, who's going to ask you the right questions and give you the time and the space to answer those questions. So that is not something that you could do by yourself. But secondly, I think it requires you to get uncomfortable. And that's the big process right there, is that sometimes if it is somebody in your life who has harmed you or is currently harming you, if you cannot tell that person how you feel or why you don't appreciate what they're doing or even acknowledge the situation, tell me how you're going to come on Instagram and tell people why they should support your business. Or if somebody crosses boundaries with you in your business, how are you going to tell that person, I don't appreciate you crossing boundaries with me? How?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to take care of those skeletons in our closet first so that we could see how it's going to open up the doors in other aspects of our life. But one, ask for help. Please ask for help. Don't carry the shame. Tell people that you need that help. And two, start getting into the practice of, if there are things coming your way that do not serve you, feeling comfortable enough to say, this does not serve me. And that thing, simple statements like that actually helps you build your confidence. Because saying, I don't like this, I don't want this, is like the ultimate like power booster.
Gotcha. Now, what if someone can't pinpoint where this trauma is coming from or where this fear is coming from? Like, do you recommend that they speak to someone like a counselor or psychologist to kind of dive in deeper into that to figure out where it is?
Well, this is why I said I asked the right questions.
Okay.
Because somehow I'm able to help people do that. So I had one client a couple of months ago who's actually a psychotherapist.
Really?
And so I was asking her questions and she started getting all hot and like really anxious. And she goes, okay, wait. Who's the psychotherapist here between the two of us? You or me? And I was like, well, you are. She goes, but you're really asking the questions that she didn't even realize. So here's the example. This particular client felt that when she went into large spaces, she had to kind of dumb it down and speak at a whisper. And she knew she had this bubbly personality. She knew she wanted to share with people, but she talked with a whisper. And I was like, okay, can you describe to me, because there's an activity that we do within the program. I go, can you describe to me when there was a time that somebody called you out? They made a comment about your voice. They did it publicly and it embarrassed you, or it left you feeling like, wow, like now I got to think twice about how I sound. She goes, yeah, I was at a wedding 10 years ago and I was sitting on the other side of the room and somebody said something and I let out this big laugh. And then I came to the center of the room and I saw this childhood friend and they were like, oh, whoa, you haven't changed a bit. I could hear you from the other side of the room. And she had been carrying that memory, but she didn't realize that's what was stopping her from showing up and really speaking out and expressing herself in large spaces. So I don't know how I do it. I just do it.
So once you identify what the root cause is, what do you do afterwards?
Oh, we get to work.
We get to
We
work.
get to work. Yeah, we get to work. Like, it's kind of like you have a house, right?
Mhm.
And say the foundation is weak. And do you just go slab a fresh coat of paint on it and then put it on the market and ask for $1 million? No, you have to work on that foundation. And then when you work on that foundation, then you gut it. And you're like, okay, let's do some interior design here. Let's get some new carpets. Let's put some fresh coat of paint. Let's put some photos up. Let's put the garden out front and make it seem appealing. And now let's go back on the market and ask for double. That's what I help people do with their voice. So I don't just say, oh, yeah, here's a good speech, memorize it, know how to move your hands and make eye contact, and ta-da. We got to do that deep work. And then when we do that deep work and declutter, and don't get me wrong, everybody has something that they need to declutter. Even the most confident speakers have things that they need to declutter. And then once we get through that, now let's start putting things together. Let's start determining what your story is, what's your next big idea, and let's help you build that confidence so that you can share with other people.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I love this program so much.
Thank you.
I would love to hear about success stories.
Oh, goodness. How much time do you have?
So what are some key success stories that really stand out to you that you were just like, wow, the transformation was just incredible?
So I had a master class back in, was it November? Yeah, it was November. And this woman came to my class, really sweet personality. She was already talkative. She talks a lot, actually. So I was a little confused why she came to my masterclass and why she needed my help. But she was like, I need help telling my story. I need help getting heard because I have a very serious medical condition. So she has cystic fibrosis,
Mm-hmm.
and she needed a life-saving drug that was going to help essentially save her life. So I think her lung capacity was at like, I don't even know, maybe just below 30.
Oh my.
So she couldn't walk for long periods of time. She had to go frequently to the hospital, like countless things here. But this life-saving medication was not available in Canada. It was only available in the US. So she's like, how do I get heard? So she came to the masterclass. She got a chance to practice sharing her story, building that confidence. I gave her a few strategies along with everybody else on how to tell your story and how to get heard in front of other people so that your message could resonate with others. So maybe 3-4 days after the masterclass, she went live did she go live? No, she actually made a video. She posted to IGTV. People reshared it. It caught the eye of global news and other news broadcast companies. And her story started to circulate about why she needed this life-saving drug called Trifecta. So now she's getting people to sign a petition. She's trying to get the Canadian government involved. I need this life-saving medication. Not only do I need it, but I'm advocating for other people to get this life-saving medication. Why don't we have a plan in place here in Canada? Fast forward to January, she puts together a care package for all of the executives who sit on the board of this life-saving drug. And in this package, she put together her story. She put a letter from her son who said, all I want for Christmas is Trifecta for my mom. She hit on all the heartstrings, implemented the strategies that we talked about in the masterclass. And then 4 days later, they sent her an email and said, we are going to give you a trial test of the drug. So she got the drug, the first Canadian to get Trifecta.
That's incredible.
And now, technically, after using the drug, her lung capacity is within a safe range that she technically, by medical standards, does not have cystic fibrosis. She still does, but her lung capacity is so high, she's not actually like in the category of being considered having cystic fibrosis because she used her voice to get that damn drug.
That's life-changing.
So that was one. That was one. But I had another client, was a teacher who I worked with, didn't realize that she was in an abusive relationship. She had to take some time off. I was able to find out what happened to her. She explained everything to me. So I have a signature women's event called Healed Hearts, Empowered Spirits. And I invited her to be a speaker. And she's like, but Jam, I'm not a speaker. I'm like, you don't have to be a speaker in order to share your story. You have to be a human with a mouth who's willing to share their story. And that's the other thing too, is that a lot of people think, oh, I have to have all these followers. I have to have a book. I need to be known in order for people to hear what I have to say. That's bogus. So I invited her to share her story at my event. And in front of 97 strangers, she, for the first time, talked about being in an abusive marriage and how she restarted her life after that. So while she was talking, she was hyperventilating. She was extremely nervous. I did do some training with her beforehand just to get her ready. But she was still nervous, understandably so, because she's exposing herself, right?
Mhm.
So after that event, months later, I had the second one. And another person who was at the event last year said, "Can I thank Siobhan in front of the audience?" And I go, "For what?" She was like, "I need to thank her for something." I was like, "Oh, okay." So she got up on the stage in front of 125 people and said, "Siobhan, last year you shared your story and you shared what you went through and how you rebuilt your life. And I saw how scared you were and you were crying and you were like out of breath. But while you shared your story and exposed yourself to us, I was crying because your story was my story. And I just want to thank you for your courage and for using your voice to share your story because it gave me the courage to walk away from my abusive relationship 3 months later."
Wow. Now that's impact.
Yeah, and that's impact, right? So when people say, "Oh, I don't know if there's power in my voice. I don't know if I could resonate with other people. I don't know if people could benefit from what I have to say." Stories like that reaffirm that yes, you can.
100%. That's one of the reasons why I created my podcast, was because I wanted to share like heart to heart conversations, people's real experiences in life, because that's how you learn. Just hearing other people's experiences will help you navigate whatever you are going through.
Mm-hmm. 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 So I'm honored to be a part of people's lives and for them to trust me and to speak their truth and to launch that idea they've been sitting on for so long. And um, I don't take those conversations or those relationships for granted. It really just gives me even more fuel to keep pressing on and encouraging more people to tap into their voice.
Yeah, definitely. Now, because you brought up that situation with vulnerability, showing that rawness, how do you prep somebody for that? We're all trying to be more real on social media, on in our businesses, and showing up as ourselves, and showing what's going on behind the scenes and whatnot. How do you help people be able to be more comfortable in that zone?
It's a process, right? So I think when people come to me to work with them and to say that my program, they're essentially raising their hand saying, "I need help." I like to say that not one mic fits all. Every person I work with, I have a different strategy. A lot of my strategies I make up in real time. So I don't have a list of strategies that I use for people. Everybody's voice is different. Everybody's needs are different. And then I'm able to find I'm able to figure things out and go, okay, let's try this. And if it didn't work, okay, let's try that. And come up with a plan to help them just be more comfortable and to overcome that and to start taking those next steps.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, I was listening to a podcast with you on as a guest, and I learned that you prefer to wing it. You like to go off the
Yeah.
cuff when you are speaking. And that just blew my mind. And I would love to kind of hear, do you think that that's the best way to go? Or do you suggest that people plan before?
It depends on the person. It really does. Winging it's not for everybody. It's not it's not for everybody. And just because I wing it doesn't make me a super confident doesn't that's not the only thing that makes me a super confident speaker is that I'm able to wing it. You could also be a very powerful speaker with a speech and a script.
Mhm.
For me, it's just my method of approach. But I do encourage people to trust their words and their thoughts and their delivery and to have fun just letting their words flow out in real time. But there are situations where you do need to prepare something. I've been in those situations where I'm like, okay, I have to come up with a speech. And sad example was 2 years ago, I had a student pass away from cancer. And his mom asked me to his eulogy. And I was like, okay, I've never spoken at a funeral before. This is not like my typical thing. This is well beyond my comfort zone here. And I tried to sit down and write a speech and it wasn't working. And I was like, I can't wing it. I cannot wing a speech at a child's funeral. Like you can't do that. And I did. So I found a really powerful quote um, on Pinterest that represented this child and the relationship that we had. And he was a huge Lego fan. And I found this quote that said, "You could learn more about a person in an hour of play than a lifetime of conversations." So, although I hadn't had a lifetime of conversations with Kevin, we did play a lot of Lego together. And while playing Lego with him, I discovered he was a budding animal activist. He loved Coca Cola chicken. He wanted to be a father. He honored his parents and was grateful for everything they'd done for him. And he was just so full of kindness and love for the world. So I took that quote and I was able to wing his eulogy. Do I recommend that everyone do that? No, but it's within my comfort zone. So I tell people to do what works for you. If you're comfortable doing that, fine. If you need some notes, no shame in the game. Use your notes. But what's important is that you trust your voice and your words the entire time.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, for those like myself, I, for some reason, whenever you put a mic in front of me, I start to stumble and I definitely, mess up my words and stuff. But if I'm speaking without a mic, I'm totally fine, which I know there's a root cause of that. But for those that do stumble, they do fumble their words, they say the wrong thing unintentionally. How do you suggest that you bounce back from that and just keep going without it letting you take you off course?
I tell people that you're not that special. Sorry. Sorry to burst your bubble. You're not that special. Because if you do make a mistake, you mess up your words, your slide deck, something happens to it, whatever, chances are that people are not going to walk away from your talk, whether it's in person or virtual, go do groceries, take care of their own worries, care for their family, binge watch their favorite Netflix show, go to bed, wake up in the morning, give thanks for another day, make a perfect cup of coffee, and then go, you know what? Yesterday, Jessica sounded really nervous on her podcast. I don't know if I could go through my day. Today's canceled. Let's redo it. Let's go back to bed and try again tomorrow. You're not that special that people are going to carry your mistake. So that's what I tell myself. There's been some big gigs where I've messed up and I've laughed about it. I'm like, oh, I messed up. Let's keep it going. But when I have messed up, guess what? The check is still in the bag,
Mm-hmm.
still getting paid, and I'm still going to get booked. So I take it as a learning experience. I don't use it to like kind of crucify myself. And I'm like, oh, I can never be a speaker ever again. That's not true.
I just love that. That's just so funny because it's so true, right? Like, you're not that special. You're not going to like have that moment where the people leave and they're like, oh no, she really epically failed. I can't even like move on from this. Like, everybody messes up. It's just part
Mhm.
of life and they're not going to hold it against you. That's so true.
Nope, they won't. So let it go. Keep it moving.
That's such great
Unless
advice.
you say something that's really politically incorrect or like dangerous, then let it go. It's not
Yeah,
that big of a deal.
definitely. Now, I want to chat about everything that you have to offer your community and this community and everybody else that's going to be joining. Let's talk about the Slay the Mic program, any other workshops or master classes that you have.
Yeah, so Slay the Mic continues to grow. Cohort 2 was recently launched. I launched Cohort 1 on July 1st, and that sold out within 18 hours. And the way I decided to do my course was different than most course creators. I wanted to limit the amount of students that could enroll. I didn't want it to be evergreen because I like to teach live. And so each cohort only allows 20 people at a time. And that's my way of ensuring that people feel seen and heard, and most importantly, supported during the 7 weeks that we're working together. So cohort 2 recently went on sale. So I'm very excited to be welcoming in that new group. But for people who are wanting to work on their voice, like first off, the Slay the Mic community goes, it's around the world. It's not just Canadian. It's not just American. To have voices from literally the Middle East, in Eastern Europe, in the Caribbean islands, everybody brings a different perspective about how to use our voice. And then when we bring it all together and we teach one another, it's so beautiful. So with COVID, I don't plan on having any in-person events in the next little while. Even if things are starting to open up, I'm just not willing to promote group gatherings. But in terms of virtually, my focus right now is the course. But because again, I'm a very impulsive person, at any given time, I just might announce, hey, webinar. So just get ready for it.
And do you announce that on your Instagram, on
I
your
do. I do
newsletter?
announce it on Instagram. My community has learned to adapt to my impulsive ways. And they're like, yeah, come on now. Like, when's the course coming out? I don't know. Tonight, launched 8 o'clock. See you there. So I like to keep people on their toes. But yeah, on Instagram, if you follow me there at I am Jam Gamble, I'm always live. I'm always posting videos. And I'm always dropping knowledge, right? Just to encourage people to use their voice every single day.
Awesome. Now, before we end, I do have some questions from the community. So, 4 questions. The first one, do you have a routine or a ritual that you do before you speak? Something that helps you prepare mentally.
Large McDonald's fries and a vanilla iced coffee from McDonald's.
Oh, that sounds so good.
That's my ritual.
Hey,
If I don't have it, I'm not in a good mood. And
really? So that's like
yeah,
your absolute, you have to have it.
I need to have my music. So my playlist changes from time to time, but in terms of my snacks, I need to have my salty fries and I need that vanilla iced coffee for that boost of caffeine. And then I just feel like I'm in like a really happy place and I could do anything.
Gotcha. I love that. Now, how do you start your day so that you're set up for success?
Oh gosh. I wake up. That's
That's a good way to start the day.
I wake up, I stretch. I like to put myself together. So when COVID first hit, I think I was struggling because I was like in different forms of yoga pants and sweats every
Mm-hmm.
day. And I expressed myself with 3 to 4 eyeshadow colors and my big funky earrings and my outfits. So I had to shake off this COVID look and basically wake up every day and dress up like I'm going to work. So when I come to Zoom calls, I am put together. I am dressed up. I am looking like I'm going out somewhere because that's what makes me feel a sense of normalcy, and it's a huge part of my routine.
I love that advice. Do get dressed. You don't have to like stay in your pajamas, but like put something on that makes you feel like you're ready to start the day. It changes your mindset completely because even when COVID had started, I was in
Mhm.
pajamas all the time.
Yeah, and you know what? We were all in pajamas for a while, and then it started to be really like, I don't know, just everybody started to do it, so it became a trend. And then, I see that there's people who were making an effort to kind of get themselves together because that's a part of their routine. And then you see people putting out messages that are like, honestly, I'm not getting dressed for a Zoom call anymore. Like it's just Zoom. Do what you want to do. If you want to like mosey around in your duck pajamas all day, knock yourself out. But I am a shopaholic. I have 3 closets for a reason. These clothes need to be worn. Okay.
3 closets.
I have about two, three, yeah, 2.5 closets. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. I'm so jealous.
I love clothes.
Yes. Now, aside from your program, do you have any suggestions on other courses, podcasts, books, or any resources that you've come across that can help people with the fear of speaking?
I feel so bad when I'm asked this question, and I always say, no, I don't.
Hey, it's honest. That's totally
I'm
fine.
honest. I'm sorry. People are like, I try getting through Talk Like Ted, and I think I fell asleep twice. Sorry, Talk Like Ted. I probably shouldn't name drop Talk Like Ted. Oh gosh, I've already said it 3 times. It just wasn't for me. I think when it comes to resources, like listen to speakers. Don't compare yourself to them, but take note of what you appreciate about their style, their flow, how they put their talks together, what their journey's been like. But most importantly, spend time with your voice. And that's the thing. We're so quick to like listen to other people's voices and then we struggle with identifying our own. And I like to listen to my voice. So I watch back my videos, I listen back to things to hear how I sound. I take feedback from myself. But there's only been a handful of speakers that I've come across that I've been blown away from. And I think it's because they're so natural and
Mhm.
they trust themselves. So unfortunately, no, I don't have any books or podcasts to recommend. I would have recommended my own podcast, but I'm not consistent with it because I like to just be creative when I feel like it, not when people expect me to be.
Ah, gotcha. I like that. I hate being forced to be creative. It has to come
Yeah, it doesn't work
naturally.
for me.
Now, the last question is from me, and I am dying to know from someone who is so confident and who knows her voice so well, and who's obviously done a self discovery journey. I would love to know what self love means to you and what your practice looks like.
Self-love, what it means to me. Self-love means to me that I value myself more than anybody could possibly value me. Um, I love me. I love things about me. I love admiring myself. And I think that's what my definition is. And I think everybody needs to realize you're all gonna have your own definition of what self-love is. COVID has taught me to reevaluate how I take care of myself. Um, I work a lot and I was actually slipping on taking care of myself. And I realized that in order for me to do what I do best, I need to make sure that I'm fully operating. So I have learned to carve out time on my weekends to give myself facials, to lie down and be lethargic and just not care about anything, to watch and eat things that brings me joy. Like that is my definition and practice of loving myself. And again, the things that I do for me works for me. If you are doing things or not doing things because it doesn't suit other people, then you're not loving yourself. So a part of loving yourself is being incredibly selfish, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. Self-love is not selfish.
Nope, it's not. Nope.
Nope, not at all. I love that. And I love, COVID, as bad as it is, yes, it's not a great thing to have in the world right now, but it has taught us so much, to take that time to appreciate, the relationships that we have, to take better care of ourselves. It's taught us to slow down, to reevaluate and reprioritize. Like there's so much of a gift that's come out of it as well.
Absolutely, I could agree with that. And I think if people just maybe sometimes tune out from everything else, it will give you the capacity to really see what you could be doing next or what you could be doing differently. And I think it'll bring about some really fresh ideas.
Totally. Now, we know you hang out on Instagram. If anybody else wants to learn more about you, is there another way to connect with you? Your website, where do you hang out online?
Yeah, I'm always on Instagram. Instagram is my platform of choice. You will find me on Twitter as well under I am Jam Gamble. And my two websites are slayerofthemic.com and iamjamgamble.com. But people like to add me on LinkedIn. Like I've done a couple of speaking engagements lately and people are adding me on LinkedIn. I'm like, this is not Instagram. This is not Facebook. Like, stop adding me on LinkedIn. I don't know you. I treat LinkedIn like Facebook. I only add serious connections, or people who are within like my world. But like, I have people who are like, "Hi, I saw you on Instagram, so I figured we should connect on LinkedIn." Why? So no, I'm not adding you. So don't add me on LinkedIn. Don't find me. Don't look for me there. I'm not going to add you back.
So funny because I'm the same way. Like if people ask to be my friend or connect on LinkedIn, if I don't want to, like if I don't feel like we're really connected, I'm not allowing you to be a part of my network.
No, I don't like it. And like I had somebody actually, I know we're going a little off record here, but I had somebody the other day who like created like a group chat on LinkedIn and they came up with this really weird riddle and then they like put a song for us to watch on YouTube and then like, yeah, you two should connect. And then the person's like, hey Jam, let's connect. I'm like, no, I don't like this. I feel cornered. I'm feeling really uncomfortable. I don't like to be forced to be friends with people. I don't want to be your friend. I still haven't requested. The message is read. I left them on read, but I
do the same thing.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
No, sorry. I totally agree.
Sorry, friends. Just follow me on Instagram. We could connect there, okay? I'm fun on Instagram. LinkedIn is not Instagram. If you work at the grocery store, why are we being LinkedIn friends? I don't know. I don't get this.
No, that's not the right platform.
It's not. Let's just stick to Instagram, okay? We'll have a lot more fun there.
Definitely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jam, for giving us such incredible advice on finding our voice and how we can empower it to make an impact in this world.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to www.projectloveco.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another unplugged conversation.